She said, "I'm returning your Christmas gift. I wanted a Louis Vuitton, not this Coach bag." The Coach bag cost $800. I said, "Exchange it then." Then I returned every gift I bought her that year, got $4,300 back, and donated it all to a homeless shelter. I'm 34M, project manager at a construction firm, and I need to get this off my chest because the shelter just tagged me in their post, and my phone hasn't stopped buzzing since. Let me back up. I'm not wealthy. I'm comfortable. I work hard. I budget carefully. And when I'm in a relationship, I genuinely invest in it, not just emotionally, financially too. My mom worked double shifts every December when I was a kid to make sure we had something under the tree. So gift giving has always meant something real to me. I don't do it halfway. My girlfriend and I had been together since fall 2020. 3 years. She was sharp, funny when she wanted to be, and had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. I was all in, completely. Looking back, there were signs that things weren't as solid as I thought, but you see what you want to see when you're in love with someone. Now, Christmas has always been a big deal in my family. So every year I put real thought into it. Real time, real money. This past Christmas, I spent weeks thinking about what to get her, and she'd made it pretty easy, honestly. She'd been dropping hints since October. Not subtle hints either. She was sending me Instagram links, saving TikToks, leaving tabs open on her laptop when I was nearby. In October, she literally pointed at her screen and said, "I love that aesthetic," about a structured leather Coach bag. I remembered. I always remember things like that. So I bought her a Coach bag in late November. $800. Structured leather, the exact style she pointed at. I had it gift wrapped at the store. I felt genuinely good about it. Proud, even. Christmas morning comes. She opens it, and I watched her face. It wasn't excitement. It was this particular kind of stillness that happens right before someone says something they've already decided to say. "This is Coach," she said. "Yeah," I said. "The one you showed me back in October." I showed you bags in general. I assumed you'd step it up. She set the box down on the coffee table, like it was a piece of junk mail. "I'm going to return it." I paused, let that land, then said, "Okay, exchange it then." She looked up. "For the Louis Vuitton." The Louis Vuitton starts at $2,000. I know what it costs. The room went completely quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind that has weight behind it. "Exchange it." I said again, slower this time. "For another Coach. Or something else you actually like. But I'm not covering the difference on a $2,000 bag." She did this thing where her jaw tightens and she smiles without her eyes moving. "Fine," she said. And she put the box to the side, and we moved on with Christmas morning. Or we pretended to. I should have known right then that fine didn't mean fine. Over the next 2 weeks, I noticed things shifting. She was colder than usual. She stopped mentioning plans for New Year's. She was on her phone constantly, and whenever I'd walk into the room, her screen would go dark. I told myself I was reading too much into it. Told myself it was just the holiday stress wearing off. Then her friend, someone I'd always been decent to, someone who had sat at my dinner table multiple times and eaten food I cooked, sent me a message by accident. It was a screenshot, a conversation between her and my girlfriend. And my girlfriend was talking about how she was going to play the long game and make me feel guilty until I stepped up on the bag situation. The exact message read, "Just keep the cold shoulder going, he'll cave. He always does." I read it 3 times. I put my phone face down on the counter and just stood there in my kitchen for a minute. I didn't text a friend back. I didn't say anything to my girlfriend that night. I just sat with it and let myself actually think clearly for the first time in weeks. And I started doing math. The Coach bag was $800. I had the receipt. But I also had receipts for everything else I'd bought her throughout that entire year, because I keep records of everything. It's just how I'm wired. Her birthday in March, I'd taken her to a spa day and bought her a gold bracelet from a jewelry store I'd had to save up for. That was $620. In June, I'd planned and completely funded a weekend trip for the 2 of us, flights, hotel, every meal, every activity. That was $1,100. Our anniversary in September, I did a surprise dinner and flowers. $340. In November, I bought her a jacket she'd mentioned wanting maybe twice in passing. $280. Smaller things scattered throughout the year added up to another $360. Without the bag, $2,700. With the bag, $3,500. I sat with those numbers for a while. Then I returned the bag, went back to the store the next day, had my receipt, got $800 back on my card. Clean. Then I started making a list of everything else. The jacket I bought in November still had tags on it. She'd never worn it once. I still had the receipt and the original shopping bag in my closet because I'd been the one to pick it up and bring it home. I put it back in the bag and returned it that week. $280 back. The bracelet was trickier. She wore it occasionally. But when I looked at our recent weeks together with clear eyes, something clicked. This wasn't a rough patch. This was a pattern. The cold shoulder, the manipulation, the he always caves strategy. That wasn't a bad week. That was just who she was with me. And I wasn't willing to look away from that anymore. I checked. The bracelet was in a drawer she rarely opened. I took it back to the jewelry store with my original receipt and my account information. The store processed a return. $620 in store credit, which I immediately used to buy my mother something she'd been admiring for years, but would never spend money on herself. My mom wears it every Sunday now, for the spa gift card. I called the spa directly and explained that the gift card had never been fully used. The original reservation had been canceled and rescheduled twice, and ultimately just never happened. They confirmed the remaining balance, and while they couldn't do a straight cash refund, they credited my account. I applied that credit toward vendor gifts I use for work clients, so it wasn't lost. The anniversary dinner was non-refundable. The flowers obviously were gone, but I had a loyalty account with the florist and cashed in points instead. When I was done, I had recovered $4,300 across cash refunds, store credits, and redirected purchases. Every dollar accounted for. I took that $4,300, converted the store credits to gift cards where I could, and donated everything to a homeless shelter about 2 miles from my apartment. I'd volunteered there twice through my company's community outreach program, and I knew the director personally. I dropped it off on a Thursday afternoon in early January. The director told me it was enough to cover winter supply kits for 60 families. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell anyone. I wasn't doing it for attention. I was doing it because 60 families needed help, and I had $4,300 that wasn't going toward a $2,000 purse. Here's the thing, though. My girlfriend still didn't know any of this had happened. She was still running her long game. She tried a few different moves in the days following Christmas. First came the guilt spiral, where she told me she just wanted to feel like a priority and that the bag situation had made her feel undervalued. Then came a comparison move, where she casually mentioned that her co-worker's boyfriend had gotten his girlfriend a designer bag without even being asked, like she was just making conversation. Then came what I can only describe as a fake olive branch, where she suggested we go to the mall together, which naturally ended up being a slow walk toward the Louis Vuitton counterframed as just browsing. I didn't bite on any of it. I stayed calm. Genuinely calm, not performing calm. She actually said to me one evening that I was being eerily calm, which told me she'd noticed something had changed. Then the shelter posted on Instagram. They tagged me by name in the post. They called the donation anonymous in spirit, but used my name in the thank you text and posted a photo of the supply kits they'd been able to put together. The caption talked about a community member who had given enough to cover winter resources for 60 families. The post got shared. A lot. My aunt shared it. A coworker shared it. 3 people from my gym liked it within the first hour. My company's internal newsletter picked it up within a few days after someone flagged it to HR as a community spotlight, and my manager brought it up in our next one-on-one meeting. My girlfriend saw it. She texted me, "Is this about the bag?" I let it sit for about 4 hours. Then I called her. "What do you mean is it about the bag?" I asked, "You donated $4,300. That's way more than the bag cost. Where did that even come from?" Return gifts. Silence. What gifts? The ones I bought you this year. The jacket, the bracelet, the spa credit, everything I could recover. More silence. Then quieter. You took the bracelet back? I returned it to the store. I purchased it from using my original receipt. I never said I was going to, she started. Your friend sent me the screenshot by accident. 2 weeks ago. I've had it since then. The silence that followed was different. Longer. Heavier. That was taken out of context, she finally said. How is... He always caves out of context. She pivoted fast. I'll give her credit for that. She went from defensive to wounded in about 30 seconds flat. Started talking about how she felt like I was punishing her for simply wanting something nice. How I'd embarrassed her by making the donation public. How her friends were texting her asking what was going on. I didn't make anything public, I said. I donated money to a shelter. The shelter tagged me. I didn't control that. You did it to humiliate me. I did it because 60 families needed winter supplies, and I had $4,300 that wasn't going to her designer bag. She hung up. She called back about 40 minutes later, and that's when it escalated in a way I genuinely hadn't expected. There was a second voice on the line. Her mother, on a 3-way call I had not agreed to and didn't know about until I heard her speak. Her mother jumped straight in. Her tone was all business. She said I had stolen jewelry that had been given as a gift, that once a gift is given, it legally belongs to the recipient, and that she was to look into whether I could be held accountable. Now, I want to be honest here. The night after I returned the bracelet, before I did anything else, I actually looked this up because I'm not impulsive, and I wasn't going to do something that could blow back on me legally. In most U.S. states, a gift given unconditionally becomes a legal property of the recipient once it's delivered. That's the general rule. However, the bracelet hadn't been covertly taken from her possession. It was sitting in a drawer she rarely opened. I had the original receipt in my name, tied to my account. I walked into the store I purchased it from, presented my receipt, and the store processed a standard return. The transaction was completed through the retailer. There was no theft. There was a return. I told her mother, calmly, she's welcome to consult an attorney. I returned an item to the store. I purchased it from using my receipt and my account. The store processed a return as a normal transaction. If there's a legal argument there, I'd genuinely be interested to hear it, but I don't believe there is one. Her mother pushed harder, said the spa gift card had been promised, and that a promised gift creates a legal obligation. The spa never processed a completed reservation. The booking was rescheduled twice and ultimately never used. There was no fulfilled promise attached to any conditions she met. The balance was returned to my account by the spa. I'm happy for her to speak to an attorney about that too. Her mother switched tactics again, said I had humiliated the family by making the donations so public. I didn't post anything. The shelter tagged me. I didn't control their social media. Eventually the call went quiet. My girlfriend, voice tight, said, I want the bracelet back. I don't have it. The store processed a return. Then I want the value. No. Click. I want to be clear about something. Up to this point, I had not told anyone what was happening. Not my friends, not my family. I was handling it privately, but she didn't extend me the same courtesy. She reached out to 2 of my friends directly over the following week. She told them I had taken back her gifts as punishment and donated the money publicly to make her look bad. She did not mention the screenshot. She did not mention Louis Vuitton. She left out quite a lot. One of my friends texted me asking if I was okay and what was going on. I forwarded him the screenshot her friend had accidentally sent me. No explanation, no editorializing, just a screenshot. He replied, "Oh, yeah, okay, got it." She tried the same approach with another friend of mine. Same result. What she hadn't counted on was that the shelter's post was still circulating and people kept coming across it. And the version of events she was telling her own friend group was starting to fall apart under basic scrutiny. I found this out later through the same friend who had sent me the screenshot by accident. She reached out to me in mid-January, apologetic and clearly uncomfortable. She said she'd actually told my girlfriend back in October to drop the whole guilt trip plan, that she thought my girlfriend was just venting and hadn't realized it had become an actual strategy. She said my girlfriend had been telling an increasingly dramatic version of events to their friend group, the version where I had secretly gone through her belongings, stolen her jewelry, and made a public donation specifically to destroy her reputation. By mid-January, several of her close friends had quietly stopped engaging with the drama, not because they were suddenly on my side. They barely knew me, but because the story didn't hold up when you looked at it straight. She made one final move in late January. She showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Saturday afternoon. I answered the door, without knowing it was her until I opened it. She looked composed, prepared. "I want to talk," she said, calmly, like adults. I let her in, sat across from her, waited. She said she'd been doing a lot of reflecting. She said she recognized that how she'd handled the bag situation hadn't been ideal. She used the word miscommunication 4 times in about 3 minutes. She said she wanted to start fresh. Then she said, "I think if you acknowledge that what you did with the bracelet was an overreaction, we can move forward from there." I looked at her for a moment. "I'm not going to do that." "Why not?" "Because I don't think it was. And I'm not going to say it was just to make this easier." She sat with that. Then quietly, "So this is really over?" "Yeah," I said. "I think it's been over for a while." She left. No scene. No final play. She just walked out, and I closed the door, and that was it. The shelter's post is still circulating. People keep sharing it. I've gotten messages from people I haven't talked to in years. My mom saw it and called me, and I could tell she was emotional in the good way. The bracelet credit went towards something for her. She wears it every Sunday. 60 families have winter supply kits. My apartment is quieter, and I sleep completely fine. If this hit different, and you want to be around when the next chapter of my life gets unhinged, subscribing would be the smartest thing you do today. Because apparently once I stop caving, things get a lot more interesting.